Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our Wrestlemania 5 review. And you might notice that I put energy into that intro. I put my life into that intro because this is a Patreon request from my ex-son, Cliff 'em all, totally disowned. And energy is the key word here because I would say 2, maybe 3 matches on this show seemed like the people in them actually gave a shit. This was a horrible experience. I was bored for most of it, and one of the worst shows we've covered, not outside the realm there. Yeah, I don't think that's crossing into hyperbole at all. But you know what, though? I'm usually the emotional guy, pop my top off, Johnny Scumbag, all that stuff. Let's give a more tempered and objective voice to the room here. Ashton, what do you think about this show?
Yeah, this was not a good show, but I think you and I reacting to it managed to make it more entertaining than it had any right to be.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely on that, partner. No.
Especially your reactions to the horrible shit.
Yeah, like, here's the thing about this show, guys. Again, when I say that there's good stuff on the show, I mean it, and I will be, a bit excited to talk about it. But the stuff that was bad, and there was a lot of bad, was really bad, and we had probably one of the worst Piper's Pits I've ever seen. Now, granted, I haven't seen many, but I've gone back, I've watched clips and that. I mean, it dragged and dragged more than, Downey did on his fucking cigarette. And, like, it was just unbearable. Like, there was a lot of trash on this show. And, yeah, I'll tell you, even the worst WrestleManias of my, period, and I know, like, you and I have watched the same wrestling for, like, so long now, I would still take some of that over this show, personally. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this show.
Yeah, I would rather watch the worst WrestleMania from now back to, like, WrestleMania 14 or 13 than this again.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, 110%.
Like, if you listed every WrestleMania from WrestleMania 13 to whatever WrestleMania the number is this year, I think 34, you can pick list those in order from best to worst. And I would rather watch the worst show out of that group than watch WrestleManias 1, 2, 4, or 5, or 9 or 7. There's a lot in the early ones that were just awful, and this was one of them.
And let me just make one final point here. Like, Cliff 'em all donated $54.50 to make all this happen. In all seriousness, thank you so much, Cliff, for that, because that's a big time donation. I am not scoffing at that in the least. But it's funny that back in the day when this was a thing, you either paid that price, if not more, to watch this show. Like, without live reactions, without anything, just pure WrestleMania 5. And the only question I have for that is, who? Who in their right fucking mind would pay that price tag for this?
You asked that, and yet my mom is sitting across the room from me raising her hand, which means she did. And to be fair, almost 19,000 people were in attendance for this.
Well, you know what? I'm not surprised. I mean, we've dealt with generational crises, drinking, smoking, drugs, and WrestleMania 5. WrestleMania 5 was on that list because they suckered so many fucking people, which doesn't surprise me because it was in Trump Plaza based on a fucking man that makes a career out of making suckers. So really, it's pure fucking poetry at that point. Listen, I can literally feel my soul being torn apart again. Let's get into this show so I don't have to give it one more minute of my time. What was the
All right, well, I think you remember we opened this show with King Haku coming out and his opponent, and he was represented by Bobby the Brain Heenan, and his opponent would be Hercules.
I mean, look, if I'm going to judge this show fairly, I have to remember what wrestling was.
But before we get to that, we should probably address that the WWF Women's Champion, Rockin' Robin, opened the show with America the Beautiful, and it sounded awful.
Wait a minute. Stop. Because, like, I knew it was awful and everything. You're telling me that the woman that did it wasn't some celebrity. It was your women's champion and she wasn't competing on the fucking show. And instead you put a mic in her hand and said, sing. Yeah, this show deserves to be firebomb. Fuck that.
She was the women's champion from October 7th, 1988 until the deactivation of the championship on February 21st, 1990. And that championship did not exist again until December 13th, 1993, when Alundra Blaze defeated Heidi Lee Morgan in a tournament final.
Wow. So, yeah, you know what? Fuck everything about that. Getting back though, to the opener, which was actually important. You know, I was going to say that if I'm going to be fair, I need to judge matches, you know, not imposing my standards on them that were cultivated by my era of wrestling, you know, the ruthless aggression era and all that stuff. I have to think about it in the context of the era that it took place in. And given that, not a bad opener. I mean, Haku is legit. Like, I love hearing stories about him, what a legit badass he was. You could clearly tell that he was a solid worker. Hercules wasn't bad by any means. I mean, you could tell. And we joked about this several times throughout live reactions. This was the steroid era, big time. Not saying that people don't do it today, but I mean, it was part of the culture back then, like big time. I think you even made a joke at one point about like sharing needles. And then I said, oh God, like, you know, the hepatitis risk and stuff like that. It was crazy because, yeah, Hercules is just like this big, you know, bulking dude and, you know, swinging the chain around. So, you know, it was, again, an era of colorful characters, of zaniness, of corniness, of all that stuff, but not a bad match. Ultimately, though, Hercules does get the win with the back suplex with a bridge, which actually caught me by surprise. And, yeah, he gets the win. I can't really come down on the match, though, because if you think about it for what it was, and the time period that it was situated in, you know, I'd say it was par for the course. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. This felt like your typical WWF match, or maybe even your typical WWF curtain jerker match, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you.
I mean, it was, you know, this was honestly, in hindsight, this was one of the less egregious matches of the night.
Certainly. I would certainly agree with you on that. And honestly, because like it wasn't like the longest match, I've really got nothing else to say. So if you want to move on, we can.
All right. Second match was a tag team match between the Twin Towers, Akeem and the Big Boss Man, and the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty.
We'll go back and forth on this. Since I talked first about the opening match, I want you to go first on this. What did you think about this match?
It's funny because prior to this, I had never seen a match involving the Rockers. I've obviously seen Shawn Michaels matches. There are plenty of those, and I'm pretty sure I've seen a Marty Jannetty match, singles match or two, but I'd never seen a Rockers match prior to this. And yeah, all I can say is I get why they're referred to as the Michaels and the Jannetty now, because Shawn clearly stood out. Shawn was clearly the star. He did all the fun high flying shit. Jannetty only did high flying shit when it was a double team move, also involving Shawn. And Shawn did all of like the single high flying shit. So yeah, Shawn was clearly the standout here. He was flashier. He was more exciting. It was more fun. And I'll tell you what, though, Big Boss Man, I'm really glad he lost all the weight he did because his late 90s run was great. And Akeem, I don't even know what to say about that dude. He was just gigantic, and they ended up winning. The Twin Towers ended up winning with Akeem because Boss Man, I mean, Michaels came off the top rope and tried to do, it looked almost like he was going for like a seated senton or a Hurricane Rana on Big Boss Man, but Boss Man powerbombed the shit out of him and then tagged in Akeem, who hit Michaels with an Air Africa, which was just like his big, you know, finishing move. It was like a big splash. And yeah, that was the winning pinfall, was the Akeem Air Africa on Michaels after the power bomb from Boss Man.
Yeah, that power bomb was fucking sick. That was the spot of the match easily for me. I legit popped for it, and I got to give the tag match credit for that. You know what's funny is seeing Shawn Michaels here, and I think you made a similar point in live reactions, and like, because I always try and remember when I feel like you've said something really good that I want to bring back up later. Like, you could tell the performers that are really good when you can transplant them in another era and they wouldn't miss a beat. And that to me was Shawn Michaels. Like, you could say what you want about the person. I know that sometimes even like how he was as a performer is a divisive issue among certain wrestling fans. but I enjoy his work, and he clearly brought an energy to this match that was welcomed. I actually did like, even though it really wasn't that effective in the long run, I actually like the tag team psychology of the Rockers, that every time they'd go after a legal man, they'd also go after the other big guy, whether it was Akeem or Boss Man, on the apron. You know, always being mindful of, we're at a disadvantage with both of these guys, so we got to work over both of these guys.
Yeah.
Fun tag match, man. And again, that final spot legit got a pop out of me. And that's more than I can say for most of this show. So my hat's off to all four guys. This was fun for what it was, honestly.
Yeah, that's why I was even saying this is one of the least egregious matches on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Up next, though, we had, I'm really glad you get to talk about this one because I have literally nothing to say about it. Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I really barely even remember this match. Like, I know it happened and it went for a good, like, not 9. It went for a good, like 10 minutes. And I just don't remember anything about it. So, John, go for it.
You know what? I'm actually glad I get to go first on this too, because I'm gonna be truthful. This, to me, personally, was better than it had any right to be. And really, I can't even fault it for the finish, because let's remember, guys, that when I live react, I don't have volume on for most of it. I put it on for Piper's Pit, something that I will forever regret. But
Why would you do that?
because it was a talking segment and Cliff paid good money, and I thought, let's give him good live reactions. God, I was actually paternal in a good way. I'm so disgusted with myself. But regardless, because I didn't have volume on, I missed the count going on, and everybody in chat was explaining it was a double count out. So I can't hold it against the match that I didn't know what was going on when I very easily could have ascertained it just by turning my volume up. That said, yeah, I like the energy these guys brought to the match. I mean, Ted DiBiase, what a great character. I mean, that I thought was a high point of live reactions too, talking about how easily this character would work today given the prevalence of wealth and equality. And then we took it one step further by saying the million Bitcoin man and stuff like that. Like, it's a great character, and it works, and it gets heat. Brutus, again, like, I don't really watch much from this era, so I can't say how successful he was as a babyface. But I felt like for what these guys were able to do, a match again with no stakes, which was the majority of the show, they put out a decent effort. Ultimately, though, it is a double count out, which, again, I'm not going to hold it against it for having that finish when I didn't know what was going on. But still, like, I feel like when it's WrestleMania, you really want to minimize finishes like that to me. It's just my opinion. Maybe that is part of, like, how I grew up. So that was a bit perplexing. But, yeah, I mean,
That's a little old school of you, honestly.
Yeah, like I didn't find anything offensive about this match. Again, like I was actually surprised the energy that was put into it. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say about it as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can move on then. Up next, we had a tag team match between the Bushwhackers and the fabulous Rougeau brothers.
All right. What did you think about this match?
Another match that I barely even remember. I remember more just discussing how brilliant the Rougeau brothers gimmick was and how I wish we had a modern version of that today. But I really don't remember the match very much. I remember the Bushwhackers grabbed Jimmy Hart's jacket, and that was kind of what started the match, because then the Rougeaus caught him and attacked him. But then I also remember that Jimmy ended up costing the Bushwhackers the match because he distracted him.
Yeah, and wasn't this the first of like 2 tag matches where there was a late break of the pin?
Yeah.
And that, let me just say about this show very quickly, just to take a quick step back. That was something that I won't say like got under my skin or made me like nuclear rage, but it was just perplexing as fuck. Because I'm thinking like, oh, the match continues, and no, the ref calls for the bell, raised hand. Like, if that would happen today, I would get so fed up so quickly with like the tag division in every promotion. If this was still like a common practice today, yeah. I could not deal with it. Like that is so crazy to me. But yeah, like you, I mean, I remember the Bushwhackers, they did like their headbutt double team move. The Rougeaus, like I love, they got like one abdominal stretch in there, one of them did, and they did the tag, so there was some good like heel work there. But then yeah, it was like a late breaking pin, I feel like. And I would honestly say, and I don't mean any offense to any of the people performing in this match, but like I do think this was one of the weaker tag team matches on the card. But you know, the Bushwhackers win. They were hella over. I mean, we really did drive that point home in our live reactions to this. And yeah, that's really all I can say about it. So I guess we can move on.
Up next, we had a match between Mr. Perfect and the Blue Blazer. And, you know, I actually do relatively well remember this match, and I enjoyed this match. And yeah, Mr. Perfect, man, he's one that stands the test of time.
Oh, absolutely. Him and, you know, because Blue Blazer was Owen Hart, and I really made explicitly clear in our live reactions, like, I've got no beef with Owen. You know, I know a lot of people's beef with Owen would come down with the whole, you know, Stone Cold thing and the pile driver, but, you know, freak things happen, and I still feel like he's quality in the ring, and the whole Blue Blazer character, it's a shame what that character would lead to, because that's part of why Owen had to do the entrance, which would lead to his death. So it was kind of weird seeing that gimmick here at WrestleMania. But yeah, you got two quality workers really towards the end. If I had any nitpick, and I will call it a nitpick because I mean no malice to either guy, but like the Blue Blazer was coming in with some really good offense towards the end. I wish that was intermingled like throughout the whole match, because I did feel like nothing really got me to like pop or be like, oh, and this is supposed to be like more of a superhero type gimmick. I did get to see Perfect oversell at one point when Blue Blazer got a drop kick and Perfect just goes all the way over the top rope onto the floor. That was great. And then, yeah.
Oh God.
The finish with Perfect's just huge, like forearm to the face of Blazer, just knocking him out, and then the Perfect plex. Like, yeah, man, I'll tell you, even if you feel like Mr. Perfect is overrated a bit as an in-ring performer, which I would totally get if anybody would take that stance, I love the character. You know, like I still love the vignettes when he was feuding with Hulk Hogan and he was, you know, playing horseshoes and ping pong and all that stuff. Like the character, and that is something I will give the golden era. There may have been like a lot of shit in ring workers and a few gems, which we'll you know, I've talked about, you know, two here, and there are a few more to come. But a lot of the characters I do feel like are fun if you just kind of look at them and appreciate them for what they were. And for me, Mr. Perfect's kind of the height of that. Him and Jake Roberts, who we'll also talk about a bit later. So yeah, this is a fun match. Again, it's kind of frustrating that there are no stakes here. But again, I'm trying to be fair. I'm not trying to impose my upbringing on a show that was way before my time. And for what it was a fun outing. So good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. It was not bad at all. Then though, we got our sixth match of the night, which was the WWF Tag Team Championships, but it was a handicap match because we had Demolition, who I believe were the champions at the time, taking on the Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji, who had recently double-crossed Demolition as a part of an angle that led him to basically become the Powers of Pain's manager. And to be fair, the Powers of Pain to me looked a hell of a lot more like the Road Warriors than Demolition did.
You know, I know we've been doing like this back and forth thing where you go first, but I just want to say very quickly, I thought this was the first real stinker of the night. Like the other matches I could see like some good in. I really couldn't connect with it. The only thing I did connect in, because I know my live reactions were a bit likely, was Fuji. Like Mr. Fuji is such like a colorful personality. Like, you know, he's sinister, but in like that playful and fun way as a wrestling character. That was the only redeeming quality here. I really didn't care for Demolition. And I was actually kind of excited to see a Demolition match, to be honest with you, because again, they were like this legendary tag team, had the record for longest reign before New Day came in and, you know, overtook it. And like, I thought they were this big deal. I was grossly underwhelmed. Like it really.
Demolition sucked. I thought honestly, I thought that the oh God, what's the other team's name again? The Powers of Pain.
Yeah, Powers of Pain.
Oh, they were more entertaining than Demolition, honestly, in this match.
Well, yeah, I mean, and again, if for no other reason, you got a guy like Mr. Fuji as your manager. And another thing I have to hold against this match, too, and again, I'm trying to be fair, but I mean, come on. The Mr. Fuji powder spot, like, he was holding him in place for so long, and Fuji took so long to prep the powder. I mean, maybe that's just like, you know, a trade-off. There's nothing you can really do about that, but you knew what was coming. I bet you, even if you weren't, like, in the know and you were still, like, really marky, a part of you had to think, he can move out of the way, right? He's been given ample time. So that was kind of awkward. But yeah, like I just really, nothing really redeeming to me about this match. I mean, what about you? Am I being too harsh on this, or are you like?
No, dude, I definitely agree with you. I really was not a fan of this show or this match. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the show either, but I was really, really not a fan of this match either. I didn't feel like there was anything about this match that had like redeeming qualities to it. It was just a bad match, honestly. It just like I don't even know if this would have been a good match by 1989 standards, honestly.
You know what? That I think is the soundbite right there. I think you're absolutely right because we saw other matches on this show that I'm like, that's good at least, especially for the time period. I could see like why that would be, the type of match that it was or whatever. But this, like, I don't care what era it's placed in. I just felt like it wasn't good. Nothing more you could say than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So up next, we had a match between the world's strongest man, Dino Bravo, and rugged Ronnie Garvin. And this, in my opinion, was the worst match of the night.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest. Maybe it's because at this point I had already crossed the threshold of, oh my God, please let it end. But yeah, like, there was a point I couldn't even tell these two apart. I barely even remember this match. Like, because I know you said a few times, like, your notes. And I really should have taken notes for this, and I take responsibility for that. But I feel like I haven't been too bad so far. But yeah, this is one where I do blank a little bit. All I know is that oh God, Garvin
This was the match that had a lot of sleeper like rest holds in it. Like there was a bear hug and there was a sleeper and all that kind of shit.
Right. Now who was the opponent again? Because I know it was Garvin, but who was the other guy again? Just one more time.
Dino Bravo.
Dino Bravo. Thank you, Ashton. Because yeah, Bravo wins with a sidewalk slam. And like I remember that. And then Garvin loses his shit. And he ends up doing the Garvin stomp post match, which me being the dink that I am, I didn't make the connection until he actually did the move. So I will say, like, even that, I guess you could call it a highlight because I'm like, wow, I get to see the Garvin stomp from the actual Garvin. But that was the only redeeming quality for me here. I agree with you. Like this match is just, oh God. When I can only remember the finish and the post match, you know that it was bad because just nothing really stood out. So there you go.
That's hilarious. Yeah, up next then we had another tag team match, the Brainbusters versus Strike Force. I actually really enjoyed this match. This was honestly might have been the best match of the night to me.
I'm so glad you said that because I was getting ready to come in and say this was my match of the night easily. I mean, God, actually, you know what? You go first on this because I do have a little bit I want to say, but I want to get your full thoughts first.
All right. Well, I mean, to be fair, this match wasn't very long. From what I understand, the match itself only lasted like 9 minutes, so it wasn't a very long match. I just thought that this was the match that had the least negative going for it, and there were some positives. Like I enjoyed the story of, okay, well, Tito Santana did a drop kick on Rick Martel, even though he was aiming, I believe, for Tully Blanchard, and Tully just got out of the way. And then Rick Martel just spent the entire rest of the match selling the drop kick. And by the time it was time for Tito to actually tag back in, Rick Martel was just done with his shit and he left. And then post match, we even got a Rick Martel promo basically saying like he was done carrying Tito Santana on his back. So yeah, like I thought the story was really good and the match itself was good enough. And really, it was more along the lines of just like, this match was the least terrible and it had some redeeming qualities to it.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, with the Tito Santana Rick Martel thing, I couldn't even believe that I remembered that like this is a match where an angle takes place because that was kind of the high point of the live reactions side of it was like, oh my God, I know what's gonna happen. Clairvoyance for the win. But no, in all seriousness, like that wasn't bad. But man, like I think you saying like how short the match was is a testament to how, in my opinion anyway, how great and how fun the Brainbusters are. Because man, did they maximize their minutes. I mean, you have Arn coming in at one point when Tito's going off the ropes and he gets a knee to the back. You have Arn distracting the referee on a pin attempt. Like, you could really see that, yeah, the Revival were huge admirers.
Arn Anderson was the Dash Wilder of this match.
Yeah, for sure. And like, honestly, watching the Brainbusters in a weird way, all it made me want to do was like go and either watch some like quality Revival matches from NXT and more importantly, see them continue to make more quality matches on the main fucking roster. Like I am so ready for the Revival to be tag team champions and watching the originals, the Brainbusters go and do their thing was really an awesome experience. Like I love this. I had so much fun with it. I feel like, again, they maximized their minutes. Honestly, honestly, to be truthful, I feel like you would have been better. Not that I'm hating on the one match, because again, it did get a pop out of me, but I feel like you could have gotten two interesting tag matches if you would have swapped the Rockers with Strikeforce. So you would have had Strikeforce go against the Twin Towers, because then the heel angle would, I think, been more resonant, because, oh my God, you've left Tito alone with these two monsters. And then the Rockers and the Brainbusters, who I know they've worked together before. I don't know if it was before like this at all, but you know that they could have put on a really fun match, I think, with that contrast to styles. So that's my thing. Like, I would have swapped two teams out here, but for what we got, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And that double team finish with the pile driver, fuck yeah. Like, I'm a fan, brother. I don't know if I'll ever go back and watch like other Brainbuster stuff, because I think it's like the third Brainbusters match that I've watched. But
Oh,
yeah,
really? Only the third? Wow, I thought you went back and watched a bunch of their stuff.
no, I mean, you'd think I would, right? Because it's like right up my alley, but it's really not much.
Huh.
But still, though, all my respect. And we did get to see the Arn Anderson Spinebuster. That got a pop out of me. So
Yeah, you
like,
thought it was the end of the match.
that was the only thing. Like, I felt like, and again, not trying to impose like what I think a wrestling match should be, but I did feel like it was a bit disjointed, because I mean, that Spinebuster is so beautiful and so impactful. It looks like a finish, but I will give the credit to the Brainbusters. They recognize it's a tag team match, so they feel like the finish should be a double team move, and that makes sense to me. So, yeah, you know what? My match of the night right here. Go Brainbusters for fucking life. Next.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, John, we're here.
I'll tell you what, brother. I want to talk about this first, because it was just so fucking painful, and I had my volume on, as you know. So I feel like, given that I feel like I probably suffered more, I just want to purge that first, if you don't mind.
All right, guys, here we go. John's going to give his thoughts on Piper's Pit.
You know what? And this isn't even going to be a Johnny scumbag thing where I like rah-rah and get angry. I think you guys can tell that I really am taking this seriously. It was just so slow. Like, so fucking slow.
Honestly, it's like what we get these days on pay-per-views, where we'll have like a random ass episode of Miz TV in the middle of a pay-per-view. It just felt like it belonged on an episode of Raw, which I know Raw wasn't even around at this point yet, but it felt like it belonged on an episode of WWE television. I guess it would have been Saturday night's main event or something, rather than on a pay-per-view to me.
Yeah, I mean, brother, I gotta tell you, I know with Wrestle Kingdom, like, my biggest complaint about the latest Wrestle Kingdom was like some of the booking decisions. But every Wrestle Kingdom we've watched, you know what I love about it? It's just match after match after match, which is what a big show to me, and this is the only time I really am going to impose, should be like. And if you're going to do, and this is where I'm going to try and be fair again, if you're going to do a talking segment, especially one this extended, I feel like it should either initiate or bring to a close a major angle. That is the only reason I would give for something like this existing, but that didn't happen here. Piper doesn't even come out until halfway through. I think that's a crime. Brother Love comes out, and granted, you know, he gets the heat, so I can't fault him for that. And then, you know, Downey comes out, you know, the original trash TV host, you know, Springer before Springer was a thing. They go back and forth. Then Piper comes out. But I feel like he has this extended bit with Brother Love where, you know, he kind of does what The Miz does now. Gives the guy the mic only to take it away. You know, oh, have you ever heard of Oprah's weight loss program? And, you know, like, you know, making fun of his weight. And then we get to the stuff with Downey. And, of course, this is the stuff that you'd see on most WrestleMania Rewind, you know, things, you know, back in the day, where he's just blowing the smoke in Piper's face because he's smoking the cigarette. And, you know, Piper says, remember, like, can you just please not, you know, blow that smoke in my face? That's the fourth time you've done that. You know, please don't blow the smoke in my face. And, of course, you know, Downey's going to continue to be antagonistic. And then finally, of course, we get the big reveal, you know, Piper with the fire extinguisher. Now, you could have trimmed so much fat from this. Honestly, if it just would have been the Piper-Downey interaction and you cut out everything with Brother Love, I probably could have overlooked this, because I feel like Downey and Piper didn't interact too long, and I mean, you probably even trimmed some fat from that too, if I'm honest. But like, yeah, like there was so much that was unnecessary here. If you had just a little bit of dialogue and then go straight to the like fire extinguisher spot, I would have been like, okay, that's some good padding if you want to give people a bathroom break, you know, give time to go to the concession stand, whatever. Or if you're really like a big mark, like, oh God, it's Piper, you know, and just enjoy it. But there was so much here that to me felt completely unnecessary. Totally killed whatever momentum that this show had, because again, this came off of that Brainbusters match. And for me, like, you got momentum from that match because the Brainbusters are so freaking good, and you have a Rick Martel heel turn, so you've got, that intrigue. And then you follow that with this. Like, way to shoot an arrow into the knee of your own show. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this was awful. I absolutely hated everything about this. It was, again, plotting, slow. I could feel myself physically dying watching this crap. And Piper, I know, can be so much better than this. And even he, as an individual, wasn't bad. It's just, man, this was destined to sink. Partner, is there anything you could say that I haven't already said, or do you want to reiterate any of my sentiments? What did you think about this?
My big question is, like, what purpose did this serve? What exactly was the point of Brother Love being involved in this? Was he like a big time heel manager that he had like a client that he was garnering heat for? Like, what was this leading to? Or was this literally just WWE jerking themselves off as they love to do?
I mean, dude, it's honestly hard to say because, again, like, I'm not one of those like retro fans where I go back and I'm like, oh man, I was a wrestling fan of the wrong period and getting invested in these storylines. Like, I know some, like, I knew Andre and Roberts' story, for their match a little later. I don't know what the context was of Brother Love being a part of this. I wish he wasn't, because, again, like, the crowd responded to him as they should have, so I'll give him credit for that. But me, I just waited for him to shut the fuck up so we can move on. Like, yeah, it was bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally just seeing apparently Brother Love made, like, this whole thing was to set up, apparently this was Roddy Piper's first appearance in WWF since WrestleMania 3.
Okay.
So I guess they were just using Brother Love to build up heat so that Piper would get that much more of a positive response.
So I wonder if, like, see, because, again, I know there's a difference probably between how they told stories back then to how they tell stories now. If fans, like, even knew to anticipate Piper, or if the angle was, oh, I'm going to bring back Piper's Pit, I'm going to be better than Piper, and, like, nobody had heard a word from Piper, and then he, like, shows up, and then it's like, oh my God, Piper's here. Like, I hope they would have played it that way, because I feel like you could have gotten a lot more mileage, but even so, like, I felt like a lot of this was really unnecessary. Like, I feel like you could have gotten to the point a lot quicker than what you did. And yeah, I'm definitely holding this segment against this WrestleMania. I can't help but not to. It was just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it was absolutely the worst part of the show by miles. And honestly, I don't think the show ever came back from it. Up next, though, we did have a match between Jake the Snake Roberts and Andre the Giant, which it's post-prime Andre, so it really wasn't a good match. But still, Jake sold his ass off for Andre, and we got a hint of Damien.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jake. I still remember his Hall of Fame speech, where he said he loved wrestling. Wrestling was like his mistress. And of course, we know that it took him down some dark roads. But I mean, you see him work like this, and it's like, damn, like, that's why I said with this era, whether your guy won a world title, whether he was the man like Hogan was for so long, like, so many colorful characters, some really shitty ones. But then you get ones like Jake, and it's like, man, I can see why people would even be crazy about wrestling back then. And hell, I'm sure some people would look at the Ruthless Aggression era and be like, really, this is the wrestling you like? I mean, it's just the way it goes. This wasn't bad by any means. I do agree with you, though. It would have been nice if this was like Andre in his prime. Obviously, he can't help that. But for what it wasn't bad. Really, my only complaint, again, and maybe this isn't because, like, I had, like, no volume on or whatever, but Big John Studd is the guest referee, and when the match breaks down, I feel like it never really gains coherence again after that. Because Andre just starts attacking him, and maybe that's because Big John Studd, like, got in the way of, like, Andre and Jake, and he was kind of, like, imposing his will on Andre, like, hey, I'm the official, like, back off, and Andre didn't like that. I'm assuming that's the context. But yeah, he starts beating him up. $1 Million Man, who I guess is in a program with Jake, because Jake was clearly the babyface here, and God, I wish this was a show where it was heel Jake Roberts, because him as a heel, just, magnificent.
Apparently, Big John Studd and Andre were longtime enemies at this point. So that would have why Andre just randomly started choking him.
So it would have been like in the early 2000s if Shawn Michaels was a guest referee for a Triple H matchup.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like even today, like if Or I guess not today, but like a year ago today, if Seth Rollins would have been a special guest referee for a Dean Ambrose match.
Right. Okay. Now, yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, then you have Ted DiBiase coming. He's trying to steal Damien, I guess, because they were in a program. Which why weren't they the match? Even though again, I did like Ted's match. Ted DiBiase versus Jake Roberts, I feel like definitely would have gotten my eyes to widen a bit more than what we did get with these two guys. But then Jake retrieves Damien, and I gotta say, Andre may have been past his prime, but he knew how to bolt the fuck out of there the moment Damien came out. And because he's like, oh, fuck this. And he just flees. So, yeah, Jake stands tall to end, I guess, the match slash segment, all the chaos that went on. But again, like two guys, I mean, yeah, even with Andre past his prime, like it's still Andre on the marquee. It's two guys that are quality. And I feel like this is an okay effort, but not nearly close to the best that we know these two are capable of. So it's sad, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, our next match is the Hart Foundation versus the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, Ashton, and I'm sorry to say, like, I felt like I probably paid more attention to like chat and just us entertaining ourselves more so than this match.
Yeah, this match was like a nothing match too. I really didn't get anything out of this other than the just like Honky Tonk Man is boring and Greg the Hammer Valentine is, awful. And we already knew that. But yeah.
Yeah, that there's
You
really
know
a
what
lot
I
of
did get out of this though? I think Jim the Anvil Neidhart's underrated. I liked him in this match. He had like an over the top rope flying shoulder block in this match that really impressed me. I didn't know he could move like that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And the Hearts, they win it, and it's another matchup where it's like a late break on the pin because we're like, oh no, the match continues. Oh no, it doesn't.
Well, and
It's
not
over.
only that, but dude, you got to remember this show featured 5 tag team matches. Only one of them actually had stakes.
Yeah.
So this was the 4th meaningless tag team match on this show.
I mean, if this isn't Teddy Long's favorite WrestleMania, I will be fucking shocked. Because, like, so
I mean,
many
not unless there is like a WrestleMania with a tag team tournament on it, in which case there would be like 7 matches at least. Then yeah, you're definitely right.
I mean, I'll just say that the lube definitely got worked for Teddy Long watching this WrestleMania because so many tag team matches. But yeah, the Hart Foundation gets the win after another perplexing, like, oh, I broke up the pin. Oh, wait, no, you didn't. You lost. So that's all I can really say about this match. And I mean, again, I apologize, but I was just so done. I think after the Piper's Pit that, yeah, I couldn't give this match the attention that I don't even want to say that it deserved. So there you go. That's where we're at.
You lost, Johnny. You lost.
Yeah. Oh, I could see here based on the description that our next matchup was the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm actually cool with this match because Rick Rude went over. And let me tell you something else. You said that you got something out of the tag match that Jim the Anvil Neidhart in your mind is underrated a bit. I don't know when because I'm busy as fuck right now, so I don't want to make any promises or anything like that or any proclamations. But at some point in my life, which I hope is a very long time to give me a lot of room to play with, I have got to watch some more Rick Rude content because between the guy's look, the gimmick, and he made this match because he
and you might not know this, but Rick Rude was a founding member of D-Generation X.
Holy shit.
D-Generation X was originally Rick Rude, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. That was the original trio.
Wow. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And you know what? Props to Rick Rude because that's another guy that never became world champion, but had the body for it, had the gimmick for it, and he bumped his ass off for Warrior, who Warrior, all due respect to, those that have survived him, his wife, his kids, but I'm sorry, a shit wrestler is a shit wrestler, and Warrior is a shit wrestler. I don't know about you, Ashton, I can't speak for you. I was legit worried for Bobby the Brain Heenan when he military pressed him up in the air. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, please don't kill him because
yeah, dude, it was really, really like he could barely even. And the thing is, like, you look at Warrior and he's got this insane body. He's got tree trunks for thighs, and then he can barely lift up this like frail old man, Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, it's just, oh God, it's so awful. Rick Rude, I mean, again, I already talked about the selling to enough of an extent. got a beautiful drop kick at one point on Warrior that Warrior pretty much no-sold, which of course, very repetitive, I think, with the bear hugs on Rick Rude. Rick Rude tried using heel tactics like, raking the eyes and stuff like that. I mean, Rick put in the work. As far as
and Warrior just no-sold all of it.
Yeah, he no-sold all of it. But see, this is why, like, I loved Rick's heel tactics, but then also the other star of this match really is Bobby the Brain, because he's going for a suplex, and Brain trips him up, grabs his foot while Rick Rude gets the pin, and like most awkward pins that night, it is the 3 count. So Rick Rude becomes Intercontinental Champion, and I'm like, you know what? Yes, I call that shit fucking justice. Like, Rick, for the work he did, honestly, if he didn't win this match, if I was Rick, I would have gone to the back with the Brain and said, you know what? I'm working with Hogan. I'm taking the fucking belt. You owe me that shit for making that steaming pile of trash look decent. Fuck yourself if you say otherwise. And yeah, I would have taken my fucking world title reign if I was Rick Rude. But thankfully he didn't need to, because, they gave him the Intercontinental title at least. And yeah, just for that, just for the fact that Rick Rude won, I didn't have to see that piece of shit Warrior go over. I'm going to, not give this match a thumbs up by any means. I'll give it a thumbs middle, because, I mean, it was painful to slog through, but it was one of those things where it's like, you'll like the finish, and I did, because the right guy went over.
Dude, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, WrestleMania 9 is the worst WrestleMania ever, but in hindsight, I think WrestleMania 12 is the worst WrestleMania ever. Would you like to know what the WrestleMania 12 card looked like?
Sure.
The British Bulldog, Owen Hart, and Vader versus Ahmed Johnson, Jake Roberts, and Yokozuna was the opener.
Oh, damn.
Roddy Piper versus Goldust in a Hollywood backlot brawl. And to be fair, this is 1996 Piper, way past his prime.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Savio Vega.
Oh, jeez.
The Ultimate Warrior squashing Triple H in under 2 minutes, including a complete no-sell of the pedigree.
Wow.
The Undertaker versus Diesel.
Okay.
And a 60-minute Iron Man match between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart that ended with 0 pinfalls, had to go to sudden death overtime, only for one of these guys to get a pin in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I actually did watch that Iron Man match. I don't get what the hype was about. I feel like any Iron Man match that came after it, like Triple H Rocket Judgment Day 2000, Brock Angle, pretty much every Iron Man match after the first one, like, blows that one out of the water. Like, because that one was slow, only a few inspired spots. And then Sudden Death, I feel like, wasn't played up to nearly enough dramatic effect for it to only end 2 minutes later. So
I'm sorry, but to me, that, like, just looking at the card and knowing what the certain limitations are of some of these performers, that looks like the worst WrestleMania of all time to me. And we just watched 5. So, like,
yeah,
we're here. Like, we've seen what the worst WrestleManias look like. To me, I would want to watch that less than I wanted to watch this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you just by the sound of the card. That said, though, I guess we can move on. I'm actually going to let you talk about this next one, though, because we got Bad News Brown versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I'll tell you what, man, Bad News Brown, I would have been a Bad News Brown fan if I would have watched wrestling in the 80s, because this dude was legit. I like this guy. He's athletic. I mean, don't get me wrong, he doesn't have the best body, but it doesn't really matter when you can move the way he can move. He's like a Willie Mack 1.0, man. He can move relative to his size. He had some cool offense. He did like the Stone Cold Steve Austin elbow drop in the middle. Like, I really dug Bad News Brown. Like, it feels like Austin modeled a lot of the stuff that he did after Bad News Brown, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I love this dude. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan is just worthless in my opinion. But yeah, Brown, goddamn.
I loved how enthusiastic you got about Bad News Brown in this, because I'll tell you what, like, that factoid that you found that he was trained by Inoki, with New Japan, like in the late 90s, that made me want to look at some of his New Japan stuff if it's available. And
and really, I'm tooting my own horn here, but what does that say about my ability to evaluate wrestling talent? When I see a guy and I say, wow, this guy's good, I really like him, and then I look him up and I found out he was trained by Inoki, for God's sake.
Yeah. And really, like you mentioning Austin being influenced, I wonder because I mean YouTube anymore. Like one thing you can always find on YouTube is certain like isolated podcast clips. I wonder if he's ever talked about Bad News Brown like in a shoot interview or on his podcast or anywhere. I'd be very curious if there's any connection, however loose it might be. But yeah, like Bad News Brown's athleticism definitely made this match. He did one spot where like I mean Duggan ducked whatever it was. But like he did like this flip or something. And I'm like, what the hell even was that? And Duggan ultimately comes away with the victory. And yeah, Duggan just looks so unimpressive compared to Bad News Brown. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, Bad News Brown, the Brain Busters, Rick Rude, just like so many guys just showed up. And I'm like,
as bad as most of this show was, it's nice that we got some little gems out of it, right?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Because then really these last three matches to me were really nothing. And that's no disrespect to Macho Man who main evented. But I mean, after this, we get Bobby the Brain Heenan versus Red Rooster. Ends in 30 seconds. Bobby the Brain hits the ring post. Red Rooster immediately covers him. That's 3. What else is there really to say, dude? Like, that was the match. And then we get our main event. Then we get Macho Man versus Hulk Hogan. I want you to go first on this. What do you think about the main event of WrestleMania 5?
Fuck Hulk Hogan so much.
Yeah, dude. Like, holy fucking. Here is Macho Man, right? And this is another reason why I can't even believe that Cliff isn't here for the review either, but he'll be able at least to go back and listen to it because I'm about to, like, praise his boy big time. Here is Macho Man, right? Who, with the type of energy that he has, I'm not saying he can't be heel. I actually thought his heel work was pretty decent here, but I would almost want to put him in like a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat kind of territory where it would just be better if he was just like a lifetime babyface. Maybe like, when he went to WCW, maybe his heel work was better. I haven't really watched enough of it to know.
You know how old Randy Savage was when this match happened?
36 maybe?
Yeah, he was 36 years old. You nailed that on the point.
Yes.
You know how old Hogan was?
Hogan looks perpetually to be in his 60s to me, but I know that's not the case. What was he, like 42?
No, Hogan was 35, so they were almost the same age. And you've got to remember, the reason that Randy Savage went to WCW in the first place was because Vince told him he doesn't want him in the ring anymore. He thought he was washed up, and he tried to make him transition to being a commentary-only guy.
Wow.
Yeah, Vince straight up thought that Randy Savage was washed, tried to make him go only commentary, and the moment that Savage got an out of his contract, he went to WCW and continued wrestling because that's why he got in the business.
Yeah, like Vince Prickman indeed. Like,
yes!
Vince Prickman, fuck him, man. Because I'll tell you something. And this may be the only quote unquote rant you get, and I only put quotes around it because I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to do all that stuff. But seriously, like if you were a worker in the WWF during the Hogan era, I am so sorry because this match is proof that you can have a great gimmick, which Macho Man did. You could be larger than life, which Macho Man was. You could bust your ass. And all it is just the hulking up, big boot, leg drop win. That's literally what this fucking match was. Savage worked, I want to say 90% of it. And he even busted Hogan up at one point. Gets the elbow drop, which is fucking gorgeous. Hogan kicks out of it, though. And not only is it a kick out, it's a spirited fucking kick out.
It's a kick out and then a Hulk up, too, like immediately following.
And then not too long after that, and I mean that literally, not too long after that.
Like 2-3 minutes after that, honestly.
Yeah, gets the leg drop and wins.
Yeah, one leg drop. It literally, dude, it really literally is a parallel to today. Because no matter how talented you are, no matter how over you get, all roads lead to Roman.
Yeah. And like, I think about all the quality workers. I told you guys that I've watched and love the Mr. Perfect vignettes that he did in his feud with Hulk Hogan. With Lanny Poffo being like, Hulk
But who
Hogan,
won that feud, John?
Hulk Hogan. This was a motherfucker, right? And again, this is the only grant you guys are going to get from me on this show, which I'm surprised how softballed I was with the show. Because again, the gems, I wanted to give the gems their props. This is a guy that didn't want to feud with Jake Roberts because apparently like Jake Roberts was out popping him. They were going to do a program, but people were more in Jake's corner because again, it was such a great character and you vibed with it. And you're like, man, this is really cool. Can't have that, can we? Because it's Hulk's world and you're just living in it. I mean, every worthwhile gimmick, every worthwhile performer has felt that leg drop. And I said it twice on live. That was probably the most offensive joke I made, which is really something because I really let loose in this live reactions. I said the wrong legend died. Because like this piece of shit who's gonna be on Raw 25, and I get it. Let me just say too, I'll probably even mark out a little bit like, oh, Hulk Hogan, but like that's the effect this motherfucker has on people.
Well, that's the thing though. It's like I said in our live reactions, I love Hulk Hogan, but fuck Terry Bollea.
Yeah, that's really what I should be saying because Hulk Hogan it's genius. Hulk Hogan is a character as an genius and like deserves his place among the pantheon of wrestling gods. And I'm being dead serious about that. Terry Bollea, though, dude, fuck you so hard. Fuck you so hard for not doing business for guys that could have hung with you, like Jake Roberts, for humiliating Macho Man. I'm sorry. Maybe Macho Man felt differently. You buried the man's fucking finisher with your kick out of the elbow and then immediately hulking up. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And it makes me sick. Honestly, the ending to this really made me sick because I'm like, Macho Man does all of this work making you look so sympathetic that you're bleeding. You're bleeding. Like, he drew blood from you. He used Elizabeth. He did everything to get you to be sympathetic. And you couldn't even afford him the decency of making your comeback seem even remotely believable. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. I hated this. I hated this because of what it represents. You know, because it wasn't even a quote-unquote bad match. You know, Macho Man did his thing. And Hogan did his thing, but it's just like, God damn, man. God damn. Like, that is one thing, and I know there are still even egos today. Egos in wrestling are the fucking worst. I'll tell you. Like, how can you have an ego about something that's predetermined? You know, like, wouldn't it be great if everybody just looked at wrestling for the artistry that it's supposed to be and just wanted to go out and make great art and not feel like, oh, man, I'm the best at what? Following the line? You know, seeing a story through to its end, like what are you jerking yourself off for? It's like, it's so unbearable to me. And I look at a guy like
I'm the person that the most people want to pay to see do stuff.
Yeah, like it's so stupid to me. Goddamn. But yeah, this was the main event. This was WrestleMania 5. And then I closed out early because there were like 4 minutes left. And I said, Ash, is this just posturing? And he checked and he said, yeah. And I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm not going to watch Hogan.
It's just Hogan doing the 3 poses, the big ooh, 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 and then the Superman pose. And, you know, that kind of, and then the ear. Of course, the ear. You can't forget the ear.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I am so glad. You know what? If Hogan still has to walk him on, man, you know, that's fine, whatever. I am so glad he's not competing anymore. And you know what? People can say what they want about Shawn Michaels. I totally get why he hammed it the fuck up at SummerSlam 06. I totally get it. And I don't even hold it.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if you remember, but there was a story coming out of that too, that Shawn was supposed to win that match until the day of, and Hogan politicked his way in to getting Vince to change his mind and have Hogan go over. Hogan was going to go over in that feud. He was going to win the big blow-off match, but they wanted to give Michaels something to start the feud off. And Hogan just said, no, brother, I got to go over the whole thing. And that's why Michaels hammed up so much.
Yeah, this is the guy in TNA when Bobby Roode was having his huge babyface run. And now say what you will about Roode, but he was genuinely connecting with the crowd at this time. You know, he was one half of Beer Money, which was one of their most over tag teams. Feuding with Kurt Angle, they did a great buildup of him. And then Hogan said, nah, brother, we can't have Roode go over because if he does, he'll out-pop me. Because that's how over Roode was. He knew that if Roode won the title and beat Kurt Angle at a Bound for Glory, like, it would out-pop me, but I have to do my shirt rip, and I have to go against...
That's right, because that was when he had the match with Sting in Philly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, this pile of shit. This steaming pile of fucking
And then Roode won the title the next night at the tapings, and then he lost the title back, but not to Kurt Angle. He lost the title to James Storm. Who?
No, dude, no. You see, no, dude. I gotta cut you off there because you have it a bit backwards. Remember?
Oh no, that's right. James Storm won the title off of Kurt Angle.
Yeah, James Storm. And
then Bobby Roode turned on him, didn't he?
Yeah, Bobby Roode turned heel, and then his heel run was ended by not James Storm, where the story should have gone, because, oh my God, my brother, my best friend betrayed me. Austin fucking Aries beat Roode for the championship. fuck TNA, fuck Terry Bollea. You all deserve to be firebombed. I swear to fucking God. It's disgusting. It is disgusting that one man's ego set off a causal chain that just fucked everything up, but that's the Hulk Hogan way. Like, honestly, because you know that there was a time that I was like a TNA fan and stuff, Dixie Carter deserved what she got. If you were really this stupid that you could bring him in and think Hulk Hogan's going to help ratings, the only thing Hulk Hogan knows how to help is himself.
That's
everybody else's overness. Like, this was a guy. Now think about the ego of this, right? Which I didn't really appreciate at the time, but of course, you know, when you develop and stuff like that, you start looking at things a different way. This was a guy that was so full of self-importance during his TNA run. He had part of his storyline giving Abyss his Hall of Fame ring, which endowed
from the WWE.
From the WWE. That endowed Abyss with superpowers, that he was able to choke slam AJ Styles through a goddamn ring because, of course, I'm wearing Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring, which then when Abyss turned heel, which everybody was turning heel because that was the big Immortal turn, there was a segment where he actually shoved the ring in Hulk Hogan's mouth. Like, what? I don't even. And then you might be wondering, what does this have to do with WrestleMania 5? Not a goddamn thing except one. That it's all about Hulk fucking Hogan wherever he goes. Oh my God. I hate this man. I hate Terry Bollea so much. Again, the character, genius, immortal, as he should be. But the man behind it. And you know what the real tragic thing is? And I gotta say this because of how Macho Man was done dirty with his finisher being buried. When you have a character of that magnitude, right? Of that drawing power, of that like mainstream appeal because of the movies and everything, you could have done, especially because the industry was still like finding its legs. You know, I'm sure there were still like a few territories at this time. It didn't become the phenomenon it would until later. You could have done so much good. You could have changed the game. You could have put things in place and put stars over that really could have radically transformed the business. But no, it was a self-servicing endeavor from beginning to end. And that's why underneath all of my anger and this and that is really honestly just dejection and disappointment for what could have been with a guy of this power. That's the same reason, like, not to draw a crude parallel, but we think about politics, right? Like every president we want to believe has the power to do some good, you know, make at least one thing better, if nothing else. And that's why, you know, so many people are shitting bricks because we see that it's going the opposite route. Same way with Hogan to me. You could have done so much good for this industry that gave you so much. And it was like, nah, I'm just cashing my chips, brother, and I'm out. Fuck.
Imagine if Hogan gave a single shit about anybody other than himself. If we could get a wrestlers union and they could actually get appropriate pay and benefits for the job that they're doing, imagine how many fewer lives we would have lost between then and now.
Oh my God, dude. Absolutely. That this could have been a guy that, you know, could have culturally, you know, informed the business that, hey guys, let's unionize, let's get everybody protections, this and that. This is a guy that could have made, you know, characters that could have carried, you know, the show alongside him. But I guess that would mean like sharing pay and, you know, sharing the wealth. This was a guy, he totally went into business. And of course, if you were to press him on it, he would do mental gymnastics and he would rationalize every decision he ever made. But I mean, let's not skirt around the fact he really was, when it came to business, when it came to politics, a real piece of shit. Because you had all that power. I mean, you even had a line, Ashton, where like Vince was you know, sucking Hogan's dick at this time, because you said Hogan wasn't like controlling the pencil, but he was controlling the guy that had the pencil, you know. And like you have all of that. And, you know, the Spider-Man cliche adage, great power comes great responsibility. Well, Hogan was like, fuck that, brother. I'm going over. And that really was just his mantra for his whole run. And it's really, really fucking sad. So, yeah, that to me is what this WrestleMania main event symbolizes. Because when I saw him kick out of that elbow, that beautiful, brilliant elbow, that's like the centerpiece of what Macho Man is about, and immediately Hulk up, and then like a minute or two later, he beats him with his finish because nothing trumps the leg drop. Fuck off.
You know, that's that dude. That was the entire thing, though. Like, he did the savage elbow, tried to pin Hogan, and then it was one 2, and Hogan sat up and he started hulking up. He did the punches, he did the boot, he did the leg drop, and the match was over. That was the entire finish. That was the whole finish.
Yeah.
And Hogan wins because LOL Hogan wins. All right, man. Well, I think we're done here. It's funny because it's 8 o'clock, so it's time for Raw to come on live. And I think we're going to close this thing out. So if you want to do the outro this time, go for it.
All right, guys. This mercifully has been WrestleMania 5. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my core and commentary action. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up very quickly. You see all of our media in the description box, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, everything. The 2 things I always like to go out of my way to plug, the Patreon. That's how we did this request, live reaction and review today for Cliff Amal. He donated over $54 for this. Again, Cliff, in all sincerity, thank you so much. I hope the review and live reactions were up to snuff because we very much appreciate your generosity and it's not lost on me. If you guys want to get in on this suffering and or elation, depending on, what shows you recommend, you can take the first step of joining the Discord if you haven't already. It's only $3 a month. And if you were a member of the Discord for 10 months, that's $30. You can cash it in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. So you can get on this fun as well. It doesn't just have to be Cliff. It could be anybody that's a long-standing donor to this program. So please do give it your consideration. If you haven't joined the Discord, I would highly consider it. It's the most intimate experience we have. I know when I get out of here and I make myself something to eat, I'm going to be on the Discord and I'm going to watch Raw with these guys. So, that's the kind of fun time that we have. Of course, the Teespring. You guys already know the merch. The Braun Strowman shirt. I'm not finished with you. The ML Real Face of the Women's Revolution. The newest Tranquilo shirt for my coordinate commentary here, which I think is just a brilliant piece of work. We're bringing the Scum Squad merch back because of Shayna Baszler's dominance. We're hoping that she'll be an honorary member of the Scum Squad. So if you want to get your shirt and you're like, yeah, I'm down with heels, I'm down with crushing trakes and doing evil things and punting puppies, then you want to go to the Teespring and get some Scum Squad merch. And that aside, guys.
Punting puppies, not required.
Yeah, not required, but it's always nice to have a good time. But yeah, as far as the rest of our content goes, this week, tomorrow, we have got Progress Live Reactions chapter, I want to say 3 or 4. I think it's 3, isn't it? Yeah, it should be Progress chapter 3.
Yeah, it is chapter 3, as a matter of fact, and that's tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Yeah, so chapter 3 going live at 3 p.m. EST. And so you guys are going to want to be there for that. Then again, if you're a member of the Discord, you're going to want to watch SmackDown because, we all gather together and do that. Wednesday is going to be Lucha Rewatch. Again, that'll go live at 5. I think this is episode, I want to say 17. I'm not sure.
Try episode 13.
Wow. No, you know what? I said 17 because I went just so far ahead. But yeah, episode 13 going live at 5 with that. And then NXT review will be going live at 9 for that as we're continuing down the road to TakeOver Philly. And I think that does it for the week because I know it's not a pay-per-view week yet. But then, the week after, guys, is going to be huge because get a load of this. We have January 25th. That's Q&A, right? So that's going to be crazy. If you haven't gotten...
Well, not only that, John, we've got so much shit going on, not this week, but next, because next Monday, we're doing another Cliff Amal request. He's got a series of matches that he wanted us to react to.
That's right.
I know one of them was Priscilla Kelly versus Jordan Grace, so that's going to be cool. I know he has it like a long, like an old school, like Luthez or some kind of shit like that match in there. He's got another Japanese match to the tune of like the one that we watched between Kenta Kobashi and I forget the other guy's name. And then that's on Monday, and then we've got Progress 4, and then Lucha and NXT, and then next Thursday, we are doing both our NXT TakeOver Philadelphia preview and predictions and our January Q&A. Next Friday, we're doing our WWE Royal Rumble 2018 preview and predictions. So, and then of course Saturday TakeOver Philly live reactions, and then Sunday's Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's going to be a stacked week.
Next week is fucking loaded, guys, and we're only starting this week. And again,
And we're live reacting to Raw 25 too, so that's going to be crazy next Monday.
That's right. We are live reacting to Raw 25. I'm glad you mentioned that because I totally spaced on that. Yeah, me and Ash and Todd, we're live reacting to Raw 25, guys. And given that I know not a lot of people are in attendance right now, I'm sure we'll reiterate these announcements for NXT and stuff this week. But for those of you that are here, you're getting the first scoop. Yeah, live reactions to Raw 25. So really next week is what you want to be on the lookout for. And since you already know all that content, I just want to say very quickly about Q&A. You have 10 days left to get your questions in. Please get them in. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord. As far as Twitter goes, you guys know I have a pinned tweet to receive all your Q&A questions. If you have them in mind, please send them to me. The cap is 4 questions per Q&A, and you can divvy them up however you want. If you feel like a question would be more geared to what Ashton's about, feel free to just ask him and leave me out of it. Same thing goes to me. Or if you want to get 2 perspectives for the price of 1 question, you're always free to ask both of us whatever on your mind. Again, 10 days until the next Q&A, so get those questions in. And guys, with that said, I'm itching to get to Raw as a palate cleanser for this fucking shit show. Thanks again to Cliff for the very generous donation. I love you, Cliff. You'll always be my son, whether or not I like that fact. And we'll be seeing you guys again tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST for Progress Chapter 3 live reactions. Till then, guys, tune in and peace out.